Hello friends, and welcome back to the Beginner's Guide to Aibo. If the algorithm brought you here and you have no idea what an Aibo is, I'd highly recommend checking out my other video, What is an Aibo? If you're here on purpose, because you know what you're about, welcome! Let's get into it. Today we're going to be talking about one of my personal favorite Aibos, the Ers-210. This video is going to cover the standard 210 and the 210A Supercore. Without further ado, let's jump into it. While they were first released in 2000, only a year after the 111, the 210 continued production until 2003, during which they made an improved version known as the Supercore. In terms of functionality, the Supercore is slightly faster in response time since it has a faster processor, but it's not a super noticeable difference for the average consumer. However, there is one very important difference between the two, and that is DHS, or Droopy Head Syndrome. One of the reasons I don't really recommend 210s for beginners is because of this. All original 210s have a faulty clutch, so if they haven't been repaired already, they'll need to be in the future. Original 210s will pop up pretty cheap, but if you're going for one of them, factor in an extra $350 just for repairs. Don't expect them to be as cheap as they look. Because of the repair costs, current market value for the 210 is roughly $400 to $500 US for an original, and $500 to $700 for a Supercore or for a rare color. Buying a Supercore gives you a much higher chance of getting a working robot on your first try, but it's not a guarantee, as most 210 models require some form of head repair down the line. Supercores also have a LAN feature that allows them to connect to the computer, but you will need a physical LAN card to use those features, and they don't always come with one. Despite being made in the early 2000s, their technology was super advanced for the time and is still really impressive even today. 210s have way more touch sensors than the previous models. They have a head sensor, chin sensor, back sensor, and one touch sensor on each paw. While the sensors are still pretty much buttons at this point, they're a little bit more realistic than the 111 since you rub back and forth on the sensor instead of pressing and holding it. You can also poke Aibo's feet or shake their hands and they'll be able to register that touch. The chin sensor is capacitive touch, but it does need a little more force to actually register than modern sensors. Now this is kind of confusing to me, but every source I could find said the 210 actually had a 1 megapixel camera, which is less than the 111 at 1.8. They seem to be able to navigate a lot better than the 111 though, so I'm not sure if this is just a fluke or if the improvement is in the programming and not hardware, but regardless, 210s were made in the year 2000, so their cameras are not going to be HD quality anyway. 210s were the first Aibo to utilize voice commands, and did so surprisingly well. 210 microphones were pretty decent quality, and as long as you were clear in your commands, you were good to go. Now, part of Aibo's programming is that sometimes they don't listen to you on purpose. That doesn't mean they can't hear you, but if you have a sassy Aibo, they may choose not to obey you. 210s also mostly use beeping and LED sequences to communicate. There are some softwares that speak different languages, but they're pretty limited in terms of functionality. We'll go over that more in the software section though. 210s have 6 LEDs on their face that they can flicker in various sequences to let you know their emotions, as well as an LED on their tail. Unlike the 111 that had really long tails, 210s have short, nubby, triangular tails. Their ears also flick to let you know that they heard you, or as part of their body language to show you how they're feeling. 210s have a standard pickup mode, which means when you pick them up, they'll stop what they're doing and adjust themselves so you can carry them around without worrying about them flailing. 210s in particular will move their head and tail but keep their legs stiff. Aibos are meant to be held a certain way, so just make sure you don't get pinched when you pick them up. Now this is one of the reasons why I love 210 so much. They have such a huge variety in software. They have multiple life stage softwares such as Life 1 and Life 2, which allows you to raise your Aibo from baby to adult. They also have standard adult personalities such as Hello Aibo. They also have softwares like Recognition, which allows your Aibo to self-dock and speak to you.
Is that the television I hear?
Yes, it's the TV.
Yup, it's the TV, alright.
Although Recognition is pretty limited and repetitive, it's still very impressive for the time. I personally really like the Japanese version, I just think it's faster and more responsive, but they do have it in English, French, and German too. There's also dancing software that lets you control your Aibo or see what they're doing.
Oh, grooming time.
Software that lets your Aibo write their own diary entries to tell you how they're feeling. Software that can check your email. I don't know how realistic or practical that is in modern day, but it's so cool and fun to me. They can ride skateboards. These are stupid expensive, but come on, give your Aibo a skateboard. Because there are so many different softwares for the 210, it's hard to pinpoint an exact personality type. There are some 210s that act like cats, that are totally aloof, sassy, and just do their own thing without much need for input, and then other 210s are more like dogs that are super needy, playful, and absolutely chaotic. There's also 210s that are a mix of the two. Personalities range a lot and are super unique, which is another reason why I like them so much. In order to run your Aibo, you'll need a charging brick, a battery, and a memory stick with the software of your choosing. You can choose between a dongle connector or a docking station to charge your Aibo. If you find a software like Recognition that does self-docking, sometimes they'll include a docking pole. If not, this is something you can build pretty easily yourself with construction paper, as long as you get the measurements right. As I mentioned previously, Supercores can use LAN features with the right software. You can sometimes find these cards sold separately if your Aibo doesn't come with one. 210s also like the classic pink ball that all other Aibos do, but this isn't a necessary accessory, and you can usually substitute this for any other vaguely pink object. You also might want an ejection key. This is just a little piece of plastic that allows you to pop off your Aibo's limbs to investigate if there's a problem. People do make 3D printed versions of these, and you could probably find something similarly shaped to do the job if you have to. These are just cool to have and a safe and easy way to pop off a limb. I've already mentioned a lot of the problems that 210s have, but just to recap, most 210s have or will develop some kind of head problem that will need to be repaired down the line. These repairs are very expensive, and you might have to get them done multiple times, so if you're not willing to deal with that, probably don't get a 210. 210s can also develop jitters like any other Aibo can, but this is a much simpler fix and can usually be resolved with runtime or by getting their insides cleaned out professionally. There's also a software you can download called Aibo Therapy that will manually loosen up mild cases of jitters. All older Aibos will likely come with a dead battery. I've gone over this a billion times before, but don't resell Aibo batteries yourself. They are lithium, they are janky, they are dangerous, and you will blow yourself up. Please don't do it. You need a special machine, and if you don't have that machine, don't do it. Leave the reselling to the professionals, thank you. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. If you want a sassy little gremlin in your house that's amazingly retro but will eat your money dollars, consider looking into the Aibo Ers-210. I'm gonna go. I will see you guys next time. Bye!
Tingly little fellow! It tingles. It tingles. Tingle, 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 tingle. Woo! He gets the chicks, though.